Welcome to Master B2B, the world's first and only unwebinar series. We're taking on the key issues about e-commerce for manufacturers and distributors in a debate-style format. My name is Brian Beck. I'm thrilled to be joined again today by Andy Hoare for our first unwebinar of 2022. This is an exciting topic. For those of you who don't know Andy, he is a sought-after expert in digital transformation. CEOs and boardrooms have him on speed dial, particularly around this issue, which we're talking about today, e-commerce platforms. Andy spent 7 years at Forrester Research. He is truly a deep expert in this topic, and I'm thrilled to debate with him today, too. We don't always agree, Andy, but excited about this particular debate as we start the new year.
Well, hey, thanks, Brian. It is great to be in 2022. I wish it was a little warmer here in Chicago, where I am right now, where it is exactly 8 degrees outside. It was -5 last night. I know we're not all warm and sunny California like you are, but we can only dream. So anyway, for those of you who don't know Brian is a noted author. He wrote a great book called $1 Billion B2B e-commerce. It's over my head here someplace. Brian's been a consultant for many years. He was a practitioner on both the B2C side and the B2B side. So he's quite a depth of knowledge. And it's great to start the new year again, Brian, with a great hot debate. And we got some really great panelists and a fantastic topic.
Yeah, we really do, Andy. And, this one is so close to my heart. Gosh, I remember, during my almost 20 years as a practitioner, I made mistakes around this. And 1 year, for example, I replatformed twice within that year. And it was just so disruptive for the business. We made the wrong decision. And I think ultimately it probably cost me my job. I mean, the stakes are really high when it comes to this. And too often I talk to B2B companies that just they're spending all their time fixing bugs or, trying to, make things work and not actually creating a better experience. We've got to stop this. We've got to give ourselves a foundational platform that's going to work now and into the future. And our debate today is around full stack or sort of all-in-one full suite solutions versus best of breed solutions where you assemble different pieces. And I think there's good arguments on both sides. I'm going to lean more into the suite, best of suite. And I know you're taking the other side, Andy. So, but again, not an easy decision. And we have a lot of great people joining us today. Andy, I was looking at the list earlier, and I see who's coming in here too. We've got Peter from American Orthodontics. Hey, Peter, good to see you. Xerox is here. Valen's here. Stanley Black & Decker, as usual, is here. I see Doug joining. Hey, Doug from Pool Corp. All these businesses, Andy, what's great about them is, there's so many businesses that need this type of foundational element. We've got all of 3Ms here again. So it's a great group, and as usual, Andy, we posted the question, this topic on LinkedIn again, and we asked this specific question to kind of gauge how our community of folks was thinking about this. We said, which is the better e-commerce platform approach to meet modern B2B buyer needs in 2022 and beyond? Best of breed or best of suite? And here's a couple answers we got. I wanted to share them because I think they frame up the conversation nicely. After we got thousands of likes and comments again, Brian Smith, he said, he's a longtime exec and colleague. He said, and he called the e-commerce Jedi, by the way. He said, there's no off-the-shelf platform out there that is equally excellent at everything and the right solution for every unique use case. With the prevalent platforms becoming more open, by necessity, I look for a platform that has a lot of what I already require under the hood, right? So there's an argument for kind of full stack with some adaptation. Michael Vax, another one of our e-com gurus, thank you, Michael, for this. He made the case for best of breed. He said, best of breed is a great approach. However, it does require a certain level of technical sophistication from design to implementation. So that's something we're going to talk about. And finally, Sherry Foster from AscendX Digital. Thank you, Sherry, for this comment. For best of suite, she says, a key benefit of best of suite is the seamless integration of functionality and often a faster time to deploy. Smaller organizations with fewer resources would benefit from best of suite. So I think there's a bit of that as well. So Andy, I think it might help to sort of frame up, what are these two approaches? And then I know you have a couple slides, Mr. Data Man, to share with the audience here to set the context.
Well, before we go to the slides, I think people often ask the question, what is best of breed versus best of suite? What do the terms even mean? And you mentioned it, but me just a little bit more about that. So the best of suite approach is kind of the classic approach, an all-in-one approach, sort of what had been done historically, where we buy one platform, and it came largely with all the functionality you needed. And you could turn it on and off, but you sort of bought it almost like buying a car with things that are factory installed, versus this sort of more modern idea, which is a best of breed approach, where you buy some core functionality and then you add the pieces around the edge when and if you want them. And there are good arguments for both sides of this, but lately, most of the argument has been around best of breed. And you see in our first slide here that there's a group called the MACH Alliance, which stands for Microservices, API, Cloud, and Headless. And it's a group of vendors and some systems integrators who come together on this idea of best of breed. And look, investors are clearly interested in this. They've raised $2.5 billion in funding, and estimated valuation of companies in this category have already over 20 billion. So clearly there's investor interest in this particular approach. In addition, some companies like Gartner, for example, have studied this, and some early research says that organizations have adopted a composable approach, which is another word for headless, which is another word for the MACH Alliance, which is another word for best of breed. So you can kind of see like the acronym problem here. Will outpace the competition by 80% in terms of the speed of new feature development. Now, this is debatable. This is highly debatable, and that's what this debate is going to be about. So that's what people are saying about best of breed. So why best of suite? Well, what's interesting about best of suite is that, and I think we're going to talk about this, for smaller companies, mid-market companies that don't have large IT staffs where they can assign a team of people to integrate all this stuff together, a factory installed best of suite approach is in many cases better. It's also the preponderance of the install base out there. So like it or not, everybody can't rip everything out and replace it with best of breed things. So there's a battle here between kind of a new idea and a heritage idea. And both of them are kind of coming together, interestingly enough. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
There's a bit of convergence. And, our goal here today, folks, is really to give you, the practitioners who are listening, the points you need to make some decisions, demystify this. And we're going to bring in our contenders now. And our contenders are the people doing this. They're the folks who are using these platforms in the field, making these tough decisions. And so I'm excited to be on the side of best of suite in this debate. I personally think that is a fantastic, use case even for larger companies, Andy. So we're going to talk about that. So let me go ahead and introduce my team of contenders here. My first contender is Mike, the Punching Patriot Powers. Let's see the sign.
There you go, buddy. Hey, Brian,
Okay.
glad to be here. Let's go.
Pats. Go Pats. Well, so Mike is the director of e-commerce and digital marketing at the industrial distributor Alaska Rubber Group. His quote, he says, "There is no question an integrated functionality-rich solution speeds time to market," interesting, "reduces investment, needless integrations, and accelerates results." I don't know, best of breed team. You guys got to be scared by this guy. So welcome, Mike. Our next contender on my team is Anu, the Gangsta Gupta.
Hey.
All right, let's see the sign. Yo, okay, Gangsta. That's awesome. I love it. The Gangsta Gupta. This is one of my favorite quotes, Andy. "Getting on the wrong side of the gangsta is a dinner date with disaster." So you guys better be quaking over there. So she's the director of B2B e-commerce at distribution powerhouse Tesco Technologies. Anu says, B2B companies need to learn to stay with the tried and true and not overbuy solutions they don't need. Wow. Yes. Slam it down. Good to have you, Gangsta.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Right.
All right, Andy, introduce your losing team.
Okay, well, now for these stone cold killers. Look at these guys. Yeah. We've got Girish, the silencer Sahukar. So Girish is the vice president of digital at Dawn Foods, which is a distributor and a manufacturer of baked goods. And Girish silences the silly assertions of his adversaries, hence the silencer thing. He's had 20 years of experience in e-commerce, and he recognizes that there is firsthand power in the idea of platform flexibility. And his quote is, "Best-in-class solutions are required to keep up with the modern B2B buyer's expectations, and all-in-one solutions," and I quote, "just can't keep up." There you go, Brian. Take the
I don't
dagger
think
out
so.
of your back.
Okay.
Maybe the bullet. It's the silencer. Okay, so
Uh-huh.
joining us on this team is Michael the Menacer Schultz. So rival arguments dissolve quickly when the Menacer is in the ring. And again, we're in the ring here. He's the global director and head of product marketing at Commerce Tools. And what he does is enable forward-thinking B2B companies to engage in powerful weaponry here. And we'll talk about that in a moment. He believes best of breed is won by delivering a customer experience that best of suite solutions simply cannot, and love this, and will never again deliver. So we're taking pretty definitive positions here, and I look forward to the fight.
All right. Well, that's great setup, Michael. Welcome as well. And guys, we have some great experience here. So I think we're about ready. It's time. Let's rumble. All right, Andy, I got the time. This one's on you.
All right, let's switch up. So the first round is all about cost and timing considerations. Really important issue here. Okay, so we're going to go to team best of suite first. Here's the question. Are you risking critical time to market by going with best of breed? So this is an opportunity for you guys to open season on the other team here. You know, one of the advantages of best of breed is you get all these capabilities you can integrate together, but you got to integrate them all together versus opening the box and proverbially plugging it in and going best of suite. So Mike, let's go to you first. Give us your read on this one.
Best of Suite is still alive and strong in 22. 16 months ago, we had a WordPress website, right? Today, we have thousands of items enriched, taxonomy, punch-out catalog, multi-level approver, shopping cart, blog, CMS, ERP connectivity. The speed to market was imperative for a mid-market distributor that went from zero to hopefully hero. So yes, speed to market, and we're doing it.
Well, Anu, you want to get on this one too. I'm sorry. Yeah, Anu, you want to get on this one too.
Yeah.
Maybe talk a little bit about upgradability and the scalability argument in addition to the point you want to make there.
Absolutely. And, so the time to launch is critical, right? We all want whoever's starting up wants e-commerce done yesterday, right? So the time to market, if you're able to reduce that significantly, and you can with the best of suite approach, I think that really helps push things along and move them, right? You can always add whatever bells and whistles you need, but when the criticality is time, best of suite is the way to go.
All right. Well, they've made their argument. Now let's hear the winning argument. Let's transition over to team best of breed. So let's go to you first, Girish. Talk to us about why they're wrong.
Thanks for having me, Andy and Brian. We launched a brand new B2B e-commerce site from the ground up. Greenfield development with no team, no code, no experience whatsoever, and not even an office to start 2020. Within 22 weeks, we launched the site and we've achieved triple-digit growth year over year since then. That is scale, that is time to market, that is why best of breed is better. You don't have to worry about customizations. You have to just figure out what are the capabilities, what is the experience that I want to drive, and just build it and go.
Well, pretty compelling argument. So Michael, the Menacer, you're the guy who's on the other end of this thing. You work with a lot of clients to implement these. Talk to us a little bit about your perspective on this and why you think best of breed is not a time consideration here.
Yeah, I don't think I want to mess around with this. I think I can see the argument if you're on a WordPress site or a greenfield implementation to go quickly to market and leveraging a suite solution. But at the end of the day, you're just delaying the inevitable because the pace of change cannot be matched by an all-in-one solution, especially suite solutions that have acquired a number of other vendors to offer new functionality. They're now struggling to integrate or even innovate organically. What we're seeing time and time again is whether you're a startup or even a large enterprise, you can go very, very quickly with the best of breed approach. We just had a company, $2 billion in revenue, starting out with a couple of APIs, really honing in on product catalog, cart, checkout, and they went live within 3 weeks without touching the backend. They were just able to launch quickly. So it is possible, and it's certainly not a myth that needs to be busted.
Wow. He doesn't waste any time. He delivered quite the punch there. We'll give the gangsta on the Punching Patriot a chance to respond here, but let's move to the next question, because that was about time, and time is money. And so let's just talk about money. Let's talk literally about overbuying, overspending, or appropriate spending. And here's the question: are you overbuying/overspending with best of breed when best of suite is generally sufficient for the job? Let's go with the team best of breed. Let's go back to you, Michael. You got a chance to throw a right hook. Now we're going to give you a chance to throw a left hook here on the cost side of things. You mentioned a great speedy story, but let's talk about the cost consideration.
Yeah, I mean, giving everyone the benefit of the doubt. I think if you're an SMB or a mid-market customer, I think you might be lucky to get away with what's included in the suite and is generally sufficient and maybe serves your needs. But I think every business is unique. If you're just a tad more sophisticated, have a slightly different, not even more complex, I'm just literally talking about simply a different product or business process, you find yourself needing an additional CMS, an additional OMS, a more sophisticated product information management system, or even an additional application to work with marketplaces. But as soon as that happens, you're 100% overpaying, overbuying, and overspending, because the CMS or the OMS or the PIM that's included in your suite will not be sufficient. And it's like buying an iPhone. How many people really use all of the features? Yet they buy an additional photo app, another messenger app, another email program, and guess what? They're overpaying.
Interesting perspective. Girish, you want to get on this one? 22 weeks to market, but talk to us a little bit about the cost consideration here.
Well, you talked about MOC principles at the top, Andy. C in MOC stands for cloud. And the whole idea of cloud is you pay for what you use. It's pay as you go. It's pay on usage, right? That is ideal for practitioners to hone in on. You know what you're using and you can control your costs, and you're only spending on what you want and what you need at the moment. So you want to add new features, the cloud providers and the services are out there. You can plug them in, use them. And if you no longer have a need for them, shut them off, stop using them. And you don't have to worry about multi-year long-term contracts. The cost control that Best of Breed offers is tremendous for any size organization.
Well, this is interesting. You guys flipped the argument on its ear and you turned the overbuying, overspending on the best of suite people. So now this is a chance for Anu and Mike to come back and tell us why, in fact, the overspending, overbuying is on the best of breed end of things, where you're buying too much capability, let's say. But Anu, let's go to you first. Actually, I'm sorry, Michael, let's go to you first. No, Anu, let's go to you first.
All righty, I'll go. So I think we need to look at cost, not just as cost of product, right? You need to look at the overall cost. What is the cost of implementation, the integrations, the maintenance, the upgrade of, one sort of a patchwork of something that you've built, and how is that compatible with everything else, right? So you need to look at the overall cost and not just what you paid for that one particular product, right? And when you look at that holistically, it's definitely, I think it's best of suite that wins.
Good argument. I don't agree with it, but Mike, you jump in here too and close us out.
Absolutely. So listen, Suite's again the way to go for us. Implementing an all-in-one solution. This is change management 101 for distribution, right? We don't have a sophisticated IT team, so we're not only building or bringing in tools that some folks on our team have never been exposed to. We need internal and external customer adoption. Our people need to be comfortable with using these suite of tools, and in most cases, we want to create that baseline and be able to pull triggers and levers to say, well, maybe we need something stronger here, and work with that partner. Andy, I'm picking up one phone to address 7 or 8 different types of technology stacks that we have. That's efficient for us.
Interesting argument.
We're out of time, Andy.
Yep.
We got to go to the poll. Thank you, guys. If you need to platform quickly, which is the better approach, best of breed or best of suite? And Andy, I thought the arguments were great there. I think the Gangsta and the Punching Patriot kind of, there's more than just the platform cost. You've got to think about integrations. You got to think about resources. And Mike raised a really good point, I think, about, about the organizational evolution. Look, at the end of the day, my opinion, e-commerce features are largely commoditized, and the suite delivers a lot of those. And look, businesses, my opinion, have to look at what they are best at in the world. And if there's some cases where a digital experience needs to be highly bespoke, and there's a lot of flexibility, and Michael made this point about the flexibility and power that the best of breed solutions can bring. But you've got to really understand that. And I think for many companies, the differentiation is not digital experience. It is delivering and erasing friction from the cycle. And you're best in the world at making a product or delivering a service or combining products in the case of distributors and your expertise in the industry you're in. Let's not reinvent e-commerce, Andy. What do you say? What do you think?
Well, I think I and many people who weighed in on LinkedIn would disagree with you, because one of the most compelling arguments for best of breed and against best of suite, and I think it was touched on here, is that there is no one platform that can deliver all this stuff. And you're going to be compromising at some point. Now, we can debate where that point exists, when you cross that threshold, but in terms of flexibility, you can't beat best of breed. And if you want to be flexible, and everybody's going to be flexible going forward, I don't know how you can't move forward with the best of breed solution.
Andy, you got to get specific, man. I need to know what all this stuff is and why do you need the flexibility?
All right, I'll give you one right now. Search is a great example.
Okay.
If you're using a best of suite and using the out-of-the-box search capability, you're going to be compromising versus being able to use a best of breed search technology from we won't mention vendor names here, but we know who they are, who specialize. And you said, don't try to be the best in the world at the stuff you're not the best in the world at. Go with those who are.
Maybe.
That bleeding I see back there behind you?
Yeah. Okay. These platforms have invested a lot in their capabilities, and a lot of this is commoditized. That's all I'm saying. You got to remove friction. Don't try to over-engineer or spend too much. Okay, I think we're out of time. We got to go to round 2. Are we ready for round 2? Got to wait for the bell. I'm on this one, Andy. You got the time?
I got the time.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. All right, here are our questions today. We're talking about the maturity of the ecosystem, guys. So, there's been a lot of ecosystems and solutions built into platforms that bring those best of breed solutions. And even in case of best of suite, there's been additions. So our question really is first around, these dedicated marketplaces that deliver features and functionality. Are they deep and broad enough today to cover the needs of a practitioner? And we're going to go to team best of suite first. And I think I have a sense of what you're going to say here, Punching Patriot. We're going to go to Mike first to address this issue. Mike.
Listen, Brian, I don't have time. It's a lot of the times you're looking at these marketplaces and it's a freemium. I get in there, I get to play with some of the functionality, and then boom, right away, give me a credit card and, you're going to pay for more of those add-ons. So no, I don't have time to do that for 15 types of integrations give it to me in the suite, guys.
Okay. So you think the suite, obviously, then it has enough for you. In your use case, in your business, you found that the suite gives you enough. Gotcha. How about you, Anu? What say the gangsta on this one?
So I feel like when you go to these marketplaces to look at these products, whatever, how do they really integrate with this product that you are building? And that's the key, right? We often talk about seamless customer experiences, but what about seamless technical integrations? Right. Mm-hmm. And no matter what they promise, like our own experience, we got a beautiful search platform. I love the search platform. Right. But one of our key criteria to selecting that platform was really, does it integrate well with the system we have? Right. Mm-hmm. And yes, it's supposed to. It has an integrator, so it'll work beautifully well with what you have. Turns out the versions are different at actual time of implementation. So you're back to square one. Well, I still got a great search platform, no question about that. But the time for implementation, again, coming back to that, increased by a couple of weeks. So when you're on the clock delivering targets, you're like, I don't have a few weeks to lose.
Right. When you're on the clock delivering targets, you hear that, Andy? You don't have a few weeks to lose. Okay, thank you. Let's go to the opposite argument here, guys. Mr. Michael, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I think being a little facetious here, I don't think the best of suite team picked up on that, but I think the question is actually a little misleading. I think human beings are used to marketplaces. It's not anything new or different. You don't go and get your bread here and your meat here and your fruits and veggies over here. You go to one supermarket and get it. Whether you're an all-in-one suite offering or you're a best-of-breed commerce platform, each and every vendor has their respective marketplaces. Whether you're Shopify, whether you're an SAP, whether you're Salesforce, whatever it is, everyone has a marketplace. So it's not really one or the other. I think the slightly different question becomes, if you as a brand, manufacturer or retailer, you're acquiring deeper functionality, then you can either build it or you can go to market and get it. The impact here is, though, that the integration to a headless commerce platform in terms of complexity, maintenance, and support will always be easier, hands down. Less complexity, less dependency, less worries about backwards compatibility. Anu just talked about search and worried about versioning. Versioning doesn't exist in a composable commerce platform. Anu talked about spending money on updates and upgrades. That doesn't even exist in composable commerce because there's no versioning. So I wonder why, because in best of breed, you simply just don't do that.
Good argument, Michael, I have to say, and I think Girish should probably agree with you. What do you say, Girish? Anything to add?
Well, I'm not hearing your team's argument here, Brian. They are all arguing for a best of breed. Anu talked about search, and I talked about one person to call. This is all coming back to best of breed. How you think about these different providers, how you integrate them, how you put them together. In the world of best of breed, you pick and choose a architecture and you stick to that architecture. You want to work with REST APIs, you work with REST APIs. It's the same pattern over and over and over. It doesn't matter which provider. REST APIs, you're in. No REST APIs, you're out. It's that simple. And that makes integrations a thing that you don't have to worry about because you're doing it one way and you're done. And, if the providers change or if a new, better widget comes along, guess what? You've already got a pre-built pattern to take that and approach it with. It's easy, it's quick, it's fast. You can prototype, you can deliver within days, if not hours.
Okay. Guys, these are good arguments. Of course, we're thinking about it from a technical perspective. Is also the, Girish, I could ask you how many contracts do you have and how many relationships do you have to manage, which could get, do you even need a marketplace with a festive suite? So I think there's arguments both ways, but you guys are making good arguments. I'll give you that. All right. So we need to move on to our next question here. Does the digital maturity of the platform buyer, so you guys, does that play a significant role in the choice of the approach? And I want to go to Team Best of Breed here first. If you're a digitally mature business, and Michael Meneser, you made some of these points. Girish, let's go to you first on this around digital maturity. What say you, sir?
Oh, I love this part. If you want to become a digitally mature organization, why would you take the scenic route? Why would you start with a suite? Why would you go upgrade a few years later? Why would you have multiple spends over so many eras and timeframes? Why don't you just pick the best that it can take you there to the destination in the next 3 to 5 years? Technology changes, and it changed about 5 years ago dramatically. We went from suites to composable 5 years ago, and we're not seeing the next wave beyond this. This is what is going to dominate for the next few years. Yes, there are a lot of suite implementations out there, but that's because of historical install base. When those guys start to look at what's out there, what's next, and I feel a lot of these calls every week, people come to me asking, what does it take to go to best of breed? And I say, 16 weeks or shorter. As long as you have the will to integrate a bunch of REST APIs, you're good to go. Okay.
And how about you, Meneser? You got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think we've thrown a few punches, so I want to be soft on the other team. So I believe there's a place for digital maturity and it helps for sure, right? But I think the fundamental question is, if you as a business want to be tied down in limited flexibility of your platforms. Remember, most of these all-in-one solutions were built 10, 20 years ago. And guess what? Back then, there was only the desktop. iPhone was only launched in 2007. So most platforms will only cater to the desktop experience, maybe have added a mobile channel, maybe a point of sale tops. but none of them have been built for easily reordering through self-service tools or portals, propagating product, content, pricing information to partners, resellers, or closely selling and fulfilling through a marketplace. And I mean, how many people on this webinar would buy an old timer with 600 horsepower and a 4-gear automatic transmission and no power steering? I mean, yes, if it's a Corvette Stingray, 100%, but I think fundamental technological advances with a lot of business benefits that you're not taking advantage of, that would make running your business easier, that should guide your choice of approach here.
Interesting. So, Michael, good argument, and I got to give the other team a chance to punch back here, guys. Let's go to Anu first. Anu, what say you, Gangsta, on this topic related to this? What do you think?
I think my thoughts around this are pretty different from what these team members said. It's more like when you're starting up, right? You don't know what you want. You don't know what what your customers' needs are going to be. You have rough ideas. You've looked at the offline world and kind of drawn some conclusions. But when you're starting up, you don't really know where this is going to go, how customers are going to adapt to your sort of ecosystem, right? As many distributors have only started this process in the last 2 years. You don't know how your specific customer, your specific market is going to react to it. So your best bet is to build a base, right? Build a good solid foundation and then go from there. And, I don't see yes, you can try and build something fabulous. You can try and say, oh, yes, my customer is going to want this 5 years from now. You don't know that today. And you're trying to build something, for, again, clock's ticking, need to get the system up.
Ticking. Gotcha. Yeah. What about you, Mike? Any final words on this one before we go to the poll?
Listen, the Gangsta, she said it. We're going for just launching, not doing e-commerce. This suite gives us a foundation, right? It allows us to get into the game. We had zero revenue 16 months ago. Now we're driving revenue through oil rigs in Alaska to folks putting up wind, turbines in the Gulf of Mexico. This couldn't have happened without having a platform that allows us to meet the needs of these users, whether it's a purchasing agent using Ariba through a punch-out catalog, or somebody that is interested in approving orders. We weren't even in the game 16 months ago. We're going to learn a lot about it. But again, internally, we're adopting to this new way, this new digital branch. Our customers are. I guess the North Star for us is how do we, when someone comes into our business and says, this hose and fitting broke, can you tell me how to fix it? We're going to try to do that digitally through a configurator. But we need a platform to start, and we're learning, and the adoption is huge, both internally and externally.
Got it. Thank you, Punching Patriot. We got to go to our poll question. Thank you, guys. Good arguments. The poll question is, does best of breed approach offer enough breadth and depth today to be a viable competitor to the best of suite approach? Andy, what'd you think of that round?
That was a great debate. In fact, I think they're both trying to own the argument of flexibility, which I found fascinating. Right. They were both claiming that their solution is more flexible, and they're both right, and they're both wrong.
It's really true.
A fantastic debate, and I loved Girish's point about the scenic route. I have to remember that one. That's a classic. But I'll concede. Anu made a great point about don't get ahead of yourself, and Mike reinforced that. For less mature organizations, I don't mean there's a pejorative. I mean, some people are just in a different spot. For less mature organizations, getting started is more important than getting it perfect. And of course, we all know I have to address that question at the beginning. All integrations work flawlessly.
Yeah. It's sure they do. But here's the thing, Andy. I think it's actually not about maturity. I think it's about who you're serving. And if you're a manufacturer, and I'm going to make a best of breed argument for a second here, right? If you're a manufacturer baking in, intelligence into your product that's in the field, the kinds of and future-proofing the business, right? I think actually it can be achieved either way. But I think that, the best of breed actually gives you some more flexibility. But I think it's more about knowing who your customer is. And Mike and Anu are making great arguments around, you just need to get started. I need to get to market. I need good enough. I don't necessarily need to be reinventing the digital experience or e-commerce. These features, even search, Andy, are, can arguably are commoditized, right? And that's a tough argument to make fully, but I think there's so much inertia in B2B. Companies just have to get going, and the suite can provide enough enough functionality to do that. Okay, we've got to go. We got another round to do here, Andy. So it's time for round 3. Here it comes. Time that one well, Andy. You're up. I'll keep.
All right, so this is the final round. This is about creating a world-class customer experience, which, by the way, is what this is all about in the end. Okay, so the first question is, do you need to combine the very best component parts to deliver a world-class digital experience? The interesting question about this is maybe you don't need all the best of the best. I mean, let's say for a moment that best of breed enables that, where you can literally do best of the best and put it all together. Do you really need all that stuff to put it all together to create the best digital experience you can? In theory, it sounds like it, and I'm going to make a counter argument here, but in reality, that may not necessarily be true. So let's go to Team Best of Breed, though, and let's go to Michael first. Michael, you need all the best stuff, right, to create the best digital experience?
I think so. That's why we're called what we're called. But I mean, let's be honest. I think you need to make smart choices. You need to follow a pragmatic approach. Knowing your business and knowing where you want to be to differentiate yourself from the competition is important. And then obviously to make the right choices. I think the smartest and most pragmatic approach here is to follow what I would call a headless or composable approach, meaning that whatever application or platform or vendor you decide upon, you have the flexibility to change when you have to move on. And that, believe it or not, also includes the commerce platform. So yes, you need the best tools, but also be aware that the best tools also come with the best flexibility, and therefore everything goes.
So Girish, I'll assume that you would agree with this point, that if you compromise on the constituent parts, you compromise on the whole.
Absolutely. You think about the best search experience, the best PIM experience, the best order management experience, the best fulfillment communication experience, right? Go down the list of vendors. Who's best in each one of them? They're all going to be different names at the end of the day, and you have to take it on yourself because the best is for your customer. And if you want to deliver the best experience for your customer, you've got to take that on. You've got to take the beast and you've got to build it yourself. You've got to create that experience from the ground up and deliver that experience for your customer. It just doesn't come out of the box from a suite.
All right, so let's switch to the other side and see what they have to say about this. And Mike, the Punching Patreon, are you a big sports fan? And I think we had a conversation about this. It's an interesting argument. If that's the case, that you have to have the best to be the best, then why is it that the all-star teams often don't play well together?
Andy, a great point. Or why the Patriots never have the number one receiver, right? Or the best guys out there. It's a system, right? So if you have all of the best, typically it's not going to work well together, right? You got to, so, what I see with this is, individually, they may not play well as a group, right? Again, speaking from our experience, I would love to be able to go out there and say, I want the best search provider or the best punch out enabler. At the end of the day, we're just getting started. And, for each of those platforms or those best in breed, you need a subject matter expert, right? So for us, honestly, when you have all of the best systems, I feel as though on our team, we're going to have to staff to those systems and get those experts in-house. Right now, I think the suite for us is the best fit.
So Ani, you want to get on this one too about you have to have the best to be the best versus maybe, it's a team that plays well together, can outperform?
Yeah. So has anybody tried recruiting recently? I'd like to rest my case there, but it's pretty much right. If you're having all these sort of super specialized products coming in, you're going to need SMEs for them. And recruiting today is a bear. It's a fact. Last 2 years have been, yes, it's a hot market, but e-commerce has been crazy since the last 2 years. So trying to get SMEs for all these individual items is going to be really hard. And, my other thought is, well, does everything really work well together? You're trying to put all these pieces, but do they really work cohesively for that customer experience that we think we want to give our customer, right? And are the products complementary or are they overlaps? It kind of, it gets into a mushy area when you're trying to build each piece. So I just, I think that I think best of suite still would be a pretty strong contender here.
Well, let's stick with you on the next question here, Anu. And let's talk to you about maybe the weakness of the best of suite, which is this difficult phrase, lock-in. People are concerned that when they've got one platform, they're married to this platform come hell or high water. And yeah, it might be the benefit of it is you got one throat to choke, but you also only got one throat to choke. So, talk to us a little bit about where you come down on this. What are your thoughts on avoiding lock-in?
So I think that there is always, like they said, right, there's a marketplace for everything. So you're going with my big reason for best of suite argument is that you have a stable platform. You know where that is going, right? And once you know what you want, right, there's always case where technology is always changing, right? So it's like down the line, you feel like you need something better. You have that option. It's not like you're stuck, it's not like you're married. So, but it pretty much, you build a stable foundation and you can go from there. But if you're trying to build multiple pieces together at start, it's going to be hard to, in my mind, it's too scattered to build a cohesive platform. And then I think of it as stability issues, right? So I'd rather have a good foundation and then go looking for, maybe this is not the best, right? And maybe my customer needs have changed. Maybe initially they were just looking for a platform, but today they want more personalization. So, that's how I would look at it.
Mike, get in on this one. I would stay away from the marriage one, but go ahead and make your argument.
Yes. So I think Michael, you brought it up, right? The suite is the old school, my grandfather's Cadillac, right? That used to be the way to sell. I think it's important for customers or practitioners when engaging with the suite, set your expectations. In this day and age in 22, I believe strongly there should be third-party partnerships or vendors that should be able to sync with this platform. At the end of the day, Andy, the foundation is I need connectivity, stability, and scalability with my ERP. Pricing and availability has to be dead on every single time a customer is there. If that foundation is good and our vendor is working with system integrators or opening up their API and having great or introductions to vendors that they're bringing on, that for me, that's good. 2 or 3 years from now, maybe our platform is the training wheels to B2B e-commerce. But again, that I feel like we're in a good position.
All right. Well, Tim, best of breed, let's give you the final word on this one. And we'll have to make it quick because we're running out of time. So let's go to you first, Michael, and then Garish, you can maybe get a quick word in after that.
Yeah, sure. To Anu's point, having a stable platform works for some. She's right. You know where it's going nowhere. I think the overall idea of headless and composable is that everything is possible. You pick the best of breed solutions that best reflect you and you support your business. Each of those business function is independently consumable, technically and commercially. And as a result, all of them are expendable. So again, to my earlier point, even the commerce platform. So the only time you lock yourself into a single platform is if you go all in one or suite.
Anu said it's not a marriage between the best of suite and their customers. I agree. It's not a marriage, but it's definitely headed for a breakup in that relationship. The suites have reached their limit, and for all the reasons that Michael just said, even if you're running a suite, you're looking at best of breed, you're making that skewed eye at best of breed. And I've been hiring for the last 24 months continuously, and we've gotten great talent that have come from best of suite, and they don't want to ever go back.
Wow. All right, Andy, we're out of time. We got to go to our poll question. Thank you, panelists. Thank you, contenders. Our poll question now is, which is better suited to delivering a world-class e-commerce experience for your customers? Best of breed or best of suite? Please place your answer in the chat box or the poll box here, guys. Thank you. Andy, my perspective, I think we're really seeing a convergence in a lot of ways. The arguments that both teams are making, at the end of the day, it's the best of suite, solutions are opening up more. They're bringing in more third-party solutions, both from a services and a technology perspective, a functionality perspective. At the same time, I recently did a platform selection for a manufacturer, Andy, and in that selection work, we had some headless platforms in there, sort of our best of breed approach. And quite frankly, the best of breed the headless are, like Michael's representing here with Commerce Tools, they have starter stores and functionalities and things that are really, in some ways, they're becoming a little bit like best of suite. So I think we're going to see some convergence because flexibility is important in a lot of these cases, but we also don't need to reinvent e-commerce. We don't need people, in my opinion, reinventing every aspect of the solution because a lot of these features are commodities. What did you think?
Well, I'm going to go with what Ricardo Caruso, one of our former panelists, had to say. He mentioned this on LinkedIn, and he said, in my experience in industry, best of breed wins in the long run. I got to such a conclusion after using and abusing suite solutions. So I think there's some argument to be made for you end up at this point. I agree that there's a bit of a convergence going on, but it's a bit like best of suites trying to remake itself to work in a new environment. And for some clients, I think that really does work. But I think best of breed in general is a better option here. And I also want to point out, Stephanie Pike made an interesting point, which we didn't get a chance to really cover here, but she said, be curious to understand the panelist's point of view on custom coding capabilities that have to be built that no vendor offers. Does this swing the argument? Maybe Michael, in your conclusion, you can kind of address that a little bit. But that is my great debate, though, Brian.
Yeah, let's have actually Michael come back on here. Let's get a fast closing argument. Perhaps maybe one final piece of advice for practitioners as well. And Michael, maybe you could speak a little bit to Stephanie's question.
Yeah, this was an amazing session. I think if you take anything away from the last hour, it's the following. If you run a small or medium-sized business, you're starting out, you don't know, you don't want to know, or you don't want to touch your commerce platform, choose an all-in-one or a commerce suite. If you run a business with a very simplistic product catalog and you're just, serving one or two channels, by all means, choose a commerce suite. But choose it knowing that you will create a lot of limitations and dependencies out of the gate, leading to a lot of tech debt down the road. And be aware that your choice will be one of status quo. I think instead, I highly encourage everyone to consider that headless composable approach to solving your company's commerce needs. I think a lot of changes that I see that are not because vendors had this on their roadmap, like nobody said, in 2022, I'm doing headless. It's because the market forces and companies have allowed and enabled, and in case of the all-in-one solutions, force these commerce vendors to consider headless. 100% of all the commerce vendors out there speak about headless in their marketing approach. And it's very noisy, it's very loud. But once you're looking under the hood, there's probably only 3 or 4 that really mean what they say and that they truly are. I think there's a lot of misconceptions in the market about headless or composable. The myth that needs to be busted is around composable being expensive and complex. You need to spend so much time on vendor management and recruiting. And just to those 4 points, I think you're overpaying with best of breed because you need that other PIM, you need that other CMS, you need that other, syndication framework to send it to marketplaces. I think vendor management, even Mike said it at the end, working with all of his third parties, I think you're probably doing best of breed anyway. And that sort of vendor management approach, it's probably a one-time pain. And again, you're probably doing it anyway. Even recruiting, most of these suites are black box applications, whether it's, Cloud Craze, whether it's, it's probably a black box. So even recruiting for these really proprietary languages is going to be hard. I think the good thing about best of breed is it's pretty much open source. It's open APIs. It's just basic protocols. It doesn't even matter which programming language you talk to it. It's just like talking to another system. So the point is really moot on some of these myths here. I think I believe the road to headless and composable is a very rewarding one. And since the market is changing, the customers are changing, business partners are changing, expectations are changing, I think the only constant here is change. So what are you going to bet on? You should bet on the platform or the approach that makes you future ready. So I think try it out.
Okay, Michael, that was very compelling. Future-proofing the business, right? That's a great point. Thank you again for participating today. You made good arguments. All right, now it's time for the decision. Bring the music. I love that. That is so dramatic. I say that every time. Andy, so this was a great debate. I mean, honestly, there's multiple paths here. And as I said at the beginning, really there is a lot at stake. People's jobs are at stake here. You have to be, as an operator of e-commerce, you have to have enough flexibility, enough functionality, but it has to be stable. In order for you to do your job, you can't be reliant as an operator, and I was a practitioner for a long time, I didn't want to be beholden to developers and the IT team for every single change on the website. So there's arguments both ways here. And what did you think of the argument? Obviously you land best of breed, but what were your thoughts? What are some of your parting thoughts, Andy?
Yeah, I think it depends on a lot of variables. I think the maturity of the company matters. I think the mission matters. This is the part that we can't address in a 1 hour on webinar, but what are you hoping to do?
Right.
Because for some customers, for some buyers, best of breed is literally the only solution, whether they know it or not. It is literally the only solution. But for others, there's a good argument for best of suite. Mike and Anu made that argument. Hey, we don't want to screw around with a bunch of stuff. We want to get up and running quickly. We want to have a foundation, a predictable, reliable, stable foundation. And let's let the market tell us where we need to go. So I think some of this is anticipating where it's going. The people who want more flexibility and I think are a little more ahead of the curve are thinking maybe best of breed gives them that kind of flexibility and the ability to bring in what they need because they don't know what they're going to have to do. Then again, the other team made this argument. If you don't know what you have to do, why overbuy, why overspend? So I kind of made both arguments there. I come down the line of best of breed because I think it does give you more flexibility. And I think the price and time considerations have changed in the last couple of years.
And Andy, we got a comment from Ernie Atkins, and he said, I'm a big fan of best of breed. However, we stumbled on some of the connectors, right? Connecting the ERP to the front end. They spent 1 year trying to get it done. So, I mean, a lot of this also comes down to your team's capabilities. I think we can sum the arguments up, and from my perspective, with three takeaways, right? The first is really, I think you have to understand whether a digital experience, what you're delivering through the e-commerce process is a competitive advantage to you or not. And does it provide you some level of, advantage over your competitors? Do you have a complex use case? Michael made the point about, multiple channels, if it's a more complex business. Listen, a lot of our B2B companies, Stephanie Pike's a great example. These folks have complex businesses, many channels. They're trying to empower the sales force. They have Internet of Things opportunities. In those cases, the digital experience can actually provide you competitive advantage. And that's, I think, an argument for a more flexible, future-proof solution. However, if you're a distributor just coming to market, Mike was talking about this, Anu was too, does best of suite may give you enough. You're just trying to eliminate friction out of the buying process and research process for your products. You don't need to have a highly personalized, sales enablement process. So number one, I think you have to understand that too. I think you have to evaluate both. If you are looking at even a smaller company, if you go into a platform selection process, you need to be looking at headless and composable solutions in addition to the full suite solutions. And I don't care how big you are. You have to look at what your customer needs from you and whether or not this is a competitive advantage or could be, even in some areas you don't even think about. And then the third advice, which I always give, piece of advice, take your time when you do this. We talked about, you've got to understand what your customers and your objectives are, your customers' needs are, the functionality. As you think about evaluating a platform, there's a lot of great arguments made here today. Do they need a personalized, a highly custom, bespoke, personalized configurator and experience? And can a best of suite platform do that for you? In some cases, maybe, because there are best of suite platforms, by the way, that are industry focused. So you got to take your time. You've got to document things. You should talk to your practitioners. You should talk to our community of people at Master B2B about these issues, because there's a lot of great experience amongst our network of folks. So all of that said, those are my three key takeaways. I think we need to go now to our decision and think about some of our poll results. So we're just coming up on time here. Let's look at those. The first round. If you need a platform quickly, which is the better approach? Best of breed, best of suite wins. Interesting.
Well,
okay.
Michael's not going to be happy to hear that. There's more work that has to be done there, Michael, on explaining time to market and cost consideration. So now the belief is that it's faster to market to do best of suite, and that best of breed still suffers from some of that debt.
Yeah, no, it's true, right? There is a perception. So that's true. Okay, let's go to round two. Does best of breed approach offer enough breadth to be a viable competitor? Yes or no? Yes. Interesting. Okay, so that's a win for you, Andy.
I'm not surprised by this. I mean, the early days of like the Magento extension marketplace, for example, some of the stuff didn't exactly work as advertised, but I think over time it's gotten better. So if we'd asked this question 5 years ago, we probably would have gotten a different answer.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, in round three, what do we have here? Which is better suited to delivering a world-class e-com experience, best of breed or best of suite? Best of breed wins again. Interesting. Yeah, I think that does speak to my comment earlier. You have the potential, I think, in this case, to offer a better, digital experience to your customer if it is best of breed, because it's best of breed, right?
But there are time and cost considerations. It's funny, we just flipped script here. I'm making your argument.
Yeah, that's right.
It's true. I mean, in theory, the best team you could ever assemble is the best team of all-stars. But when they play the best team in the league, the all-stars usually lose, but eventually when the all-stars play together longer, they end up beating the other team.
Yes. No, great question. So, and guys, want to thank our contenders today so much for being a part of this. They were really fantastic. And we're going to review the questions as the ones we didn't get a chance to answer that came in. Thank you for those. We'll get back to as many of those as we can, and hope you can join us next time for our next session. And make sure you check out our website too, because we got all of our former sessions up there as well. There's a lot of great content there, guys, for you to enjoy and learn. So, Andy, good session today. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, can't wait till February. Talk to you then.
All righty.